Hello and good morning, my beautiful intuitive butterflies, and welcome to this Monday morning. It is October the 10th, 10:10. All right, how's everyone feeling the morning after the full moon? Yesterday, last night was full moon. So, how's everyone feeling? Are you feeling like you're ready to let go of some stuff? Now's the time. If there are any negative thoughts, maybe starting a diet, all of those things are really great right now. So for those of you who are not super familiar with this channel and how this works is each Monday I come on and I will present 3 rocks, stones, gems, pebbles, various little things. And I ask you to go into a slightly light meditative state and concentrate on each of the rocks, stones, gems, pebbles that I present. And whichever one you are attracted to, I will pull 2 cards from a deck of oracle cards and give you just a brief reading that recognizes and acknowledges the main themes for you this week. And that way, it's one of those cases of forewarned is forearmed. So if you are aware that perhaps communication could be in your shadow this week, then you can be aware that perhaps communication could go a little bit awry this week. And if you're forewarned of that, then when you're in the physical situation of a misunderstanding beginning to present itself, you can go, oh yeah, this is my shadow this week. Okay, couple of deep breaths. I know why this is coming up, and let's bring this down a couple of notches. So that's kind of the intention and the purpose behind these readings each week. It can also give you the heads up, if you're looking for love, for example, it can give you the heads up that there might be some energies circulating around that might be really positive. Same with if you're looking for a job, all of these things. So without further ado, I always start by lighting a white candle. And as I light the white candle, I call in the divine creator of all that is. I call in the energies of Mother Earth. I call in the angels, the ancestors, and the animals. I call in the energies from the north, the south, the east, and the west, and from the 5 elements, the earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. And I practice gratitude for all of those energies coming in and joining me this morning as I present this presentation. And I ask that those energies help and guide me so that this is done for the highest good of everyone who's watching, everyone who chooses to participate. Gratitude. Okay, I'm just going to move this off to the side. We're going to have smoke wafting across the screen this morning. All right. So today, take a couple of deep breaths. Ground and center yourself. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And the first presentation is a desert rose. Beautiful little desert rose. So if you are drawn towards this little desert rose, I will be pulling cards from deck number 1 for you today. And if you are drawn towards this black stone, and honestly, I am not positive what this is. Let's see if we can get it to focus. It's quite sparkly on the one side and then pale on the others. So I'm not quite sure what exactly this stone is, but this will be deck number 2 if you're drawn towards that stone. And finally, we have a piece of Smoky Quartz here. So if you are drawn towards the piece of Smoky Quartz, then I will be pulling cards from deck number 3 for you today. I will be putting timestamps in so that you don't need to be scrolling around and trying to figure out, where's my reading? And so without much further ado, let's get started with deck number 1. So if you are drawn towards the Desert Rose, this reading is specifically for you. This is a general reading. Take what resonates with you and discard what doesn't. And also, please feel free to listen to all 3 readings, as most people tell me that there are aspects from all 3 readings that resonate with them. All right, for those of you that selected the Desert Rose, let's pick a dominant energy this week for you to be made aware of. And I will be picking cards from the Denise Lynn Sacred Traveler deck this week for those of you that selected the Desert Rose. So, right. That's not really strong enough. Let's see. All right, there we go. All right, you can see that there's a card there just sticking up. All right, Desert Passage is your dominant energy this week. Trust there's a divine plan. Okay, so a couple of things immediately come up for me when I look at this card for those of you that selected the Desert Rose. First of all, it's kind of unique that this stone is the Desert Rose and the message that came up for you is the Desert Passage. So you'll notice on this card that the traveler on this card is traveling very much alone. And you know, there's this big wide open space out in front of the traveler, indicating that there are vast opportunities for choices right now. I could go east, I could go west, you know? So part of your message this week, those of you that selected the Desert Rose, is that there is this big, vast, wide open plain in front of you at this time. The choice as to which direction you want to go, right, left, straight ahead, is there. And you just have to trust that as you take that first step, there is a divine plan for you. The other thing that's coming up very, very strongly for me, given that we're talking about both a desert rose as well as a desert passage, is that water is going to be really, really important for you this week. I'm really, really sensing that many of you need to hear this, that proper hydration is going to be really important. The other thing is that this message is being given to you the morning after a full moon. Full moons are also a time when things are being pulled away, when we start to release things. And that includes our kidneys kind of cleansing themselves a little bit more and releasing a little bit more that, you know, those toxic fluids that the kidneys are intended to pull out of our bodies, which means that we need to be rehydrating ourselves at this time with good, high quality liquid, namely water. So that's part of your message this week. The other thing is that a desert can often seem like it's just a wasteland. Like it looks like there's just a wasteland out in front of you, that nothing exists there. And so for some of you this week, I want to say that, you know, as you're kind of looking out across the planes of your life and your existence, that you're thinking to yourself, I mean, what's out there for me? What's being offered? And the message on this card says it all. Trust that there's a divine plan. Trust that there is something else out there for you. The isolation of this traveler is an indication that in order for you to find this divine plan for you to be able to trust in, spending some time on your own is definitely in your cards this week. This will help you to open up to your intuition and sense messages from the vast expanse that is out there. Okay. So that's kind of your dominant energy this week. Spend some time on your own. Get in touch with your intuition. Trust that there is a divine plan out there, despite the fact that it may just look like there's a desert out in front of you. I want to note right now as well that as much as it looks like there's nothing out there in a desert, the reality is that there are creatures that have adapted to and are more than capable of existing in a desert environment. Look at scorpions and certain species of snakes. They thrive in a desert type environment. The other thing I want to note is that in a desert, oftentimes just below the sand, and just below the earth, there are hundreds of thousands of seeds, and they're just waiting for a single drop of water. And when that happens, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced a desert after a rain, a day or two after a rain. It is absolutely amazing to see this vast expanse of sand one day and experience a rain and get up the next day, and all of a sudden there's all sorts of colors, greens and yellows and reds and even blues out in nature, and it's just fantastic. So that's part of the message for you this week as well, those of you that selected the Desert Rose, that there is something really amazing. It's just hiding below the surface for you. So trust that there's a divine plan. Spend some time alone this week, tapping into your intuition so that you can start to access some of those seeds that are just below the sandy surface. So the card that's on the bottom, your hidden card this week, the energy that might be hidden from you, the shadow, is watching clouds. Lie back, rest, and relax. And that's the message of the Desert Passage, right? You have to trust that there's a divine plan. Make sure you're hydrating yourself. That's going to help the seeds to grow, and get back in touch with your intuition. And the best way to get back in touch with our intuition is to watch a few clouds go by. Spend some time out in nature, lie back on your back and watch the clouds float by overhead. I've mentioned this numerous times on my Monday morning readings, that meditation doesn't always consist of Om. Meditation doesn't have to look like that. Meditation can consist of lying on your back and watching the clouds go by. Meditation can consist of going out for a walk. Meditation can consist of going for a drive. Obviously not going into that deep meditative state, but putting on some nice relaxing music and lying down on your bed without the intention of falling asleep, but just listening to the beats of the music can allow your conscious mind to be concentrating on the beats of the music while your unconscious mind comes through with messages for you. Okay, meditation is not always about sitting in a pose and repeating mantras. So just be aware of that. Okay, so that is deck number 1. Those of you that were called towards the Desert Rose, Desert Passage, and watching clouds this week. This is what's being hidden from you. In other words, this is what you are not spending enough time doing. You're being called to do this, okay? And this is your reminder that there are seeds just below the surface. They need to be watered. And that means your body needs to be watered this week as well. Make sure you're staying hydrated. All right. So deck number 2 was this black stone that I have no idea what it is, but it's very shiny on the one side. It's actually really, really light for what it is. So if you were drawn towards this cute little black stone, then this is your reading. I will be using the Osho Zen Tarot for you today. All right, let's get started. For those people that selected the black stone. All right, there we go. All right, your card this week is a fire card, also known as the Wands. And this is the sharing card. This is your dominant energy this week. And this card represents the Queen of Wands in the traditional tarot deck. And she is all about generosity and sharing with abandon, almost to the point of, not recognizing, hey, where's the next meal coming from if I'm continuing to share this? Okay. So this is not just about sharing financial wealth. This is about sharing your knowledge as well, sharing your awareness. It's about generosity this week. So this is your theme this week. It's reminding you not to be Scroogey this week. All right. I'm just really, really quickly going to grab my little book here, because sometimes this has more meaning. The Queen of Fire is so rich, so much of a queen, that she can afford to give. It doesn't even occur to her to take inventories or to put something aside for later. She dispenses her treasures without limits, welcoming all and sundry to partake of the abundance, fertility, and light that surrounds her. Okay. So sometimes the books describe it better than I can. And literally, that says it all about this card. This week, you are being called upon to share your gifts. Not just sharing financial wealth, not just sharing food and water and those things that would normally come to mind, not just practicing pay it forward if you're going through a drive-through, for example. It's also about sharing the gifts of knowledge that you have, those little seeds and nuggets that you've picked up throughout your lifetime. Share those this week. Sharing your mobility, for example, and helping somebody across the street. That is all part of sharing. And it's part of the abundance that is also represented in this card. This card also represents abundance. So for those of you that have this deck, that selected this card this week, this is about abundance and recognizing and acknowledging that if you have a lot of abundance in your life, you're also being called upon to share that abundance. That's really, really important. It calls to mind A Christmas Carol, that story that comes out every year in December about Scrooge and how Scrooge had all that money and all that abundance in his life, and yet he was downright miserable. And yet when he began to share all of that at the end of the story, it made him so happy. And so that is your message this week, that there is happiness in sharing. All right. Your shadow this week, those of you that have deck number 2, is playfulness, which is also a fire card. This is also a wand card. Okay. This card, I believe, is the Page Yeah, the Prince of Wands. Just wanted to confirm. So Prince of Wands. But this is your shadow this week. Playfulness. It means that it's something that may be lacking in your life this week, and you're being reminded to bring this into your life. This is your shadow. Now, here's the thing. If sharing is your dominance this week, you are meant to share with generosity and happiness. But the problem is that some people share with that Scrooge attitude, which means that their playfulness is being hidden from them. Okay. And if we're sharing like a Scrooge, then we're not really in our sharing generous mode, which means that we're preventing ourselves from being playful. Okay. So for those of you that had deck number 2 this week, you're being reminded to share and be playful about it. Have some fun with it. All right. And let's move on to deck number 3. Deck number 3, let me just remind you, was this little piece of Smokey quartz. So if you are, I almost dropped it there. If you were drawn towards the Smokey quartz, then this card is for you. And I'll be pulling from the Kyle Gray Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck for you this week. All right, a dominant energy and guidance for, all right, I don't know if you can see, there's one card back in here that is sticking out. That's the card I'm going to pull. Ooh, the snake. All right. So for those of you that chose the Smokey quartz this week, your theme is snake. Shed your old skin. Actually, this card is even more powerful being pulled on a Monday immediately following a full moon, because the energies in general are culminating in helping you to manifest shedding the old. Full moons are the time when you want to release, and the energy of the moon disappearing and the light being taken away from the moon helps you to release and let go of that which no longer serves your highest good. This is a great time to let go of things. A snake sheds its skin because it's growing. It's getting bigger. Okay. And so metaphorically speaking, for us as humans, it's not about us physically growing bigger, although for children it is, but it is about us gaining in our knowledge. And as we gain in our knowledge, we have to let go of past beliefs, right? There are certain things that we believed as a child that as we pick up and gain knowledge, we all of a sudden have to release that belief from when we were a child because it no longer fits inside the vessel of knowledge that we become. So your message this week and your work this week is to really, really shed what no longer serves you. Have a really, really good hard look at your belief system right now. And if you are no longer in alignment with your belief system, let it go. Okay, how do we let it go? So one of the ways to let it go is, of course, meditation. That's more of a metaphysical release. Another way to let it go is to do it. Again, this one is kind of both a physical release as well as a metaphysical release. And that is to take a nice bath. And in that bath, put things in the water that will help you to release. So for example, you can use bentonite clay, which helps to pull toxins out of the body, Rosemary is good for both pulling things out of the body as well as some protection. Salts, Epsom salts, for example, put those in your bath. That's going to help pull out toxins. But before you get into the bath, set your intention that not only do you want to release physically and get rid of toxins in your body, but you also want to be able to release metaphysically beliefs that no longer serve you. And so as you're sitting in the tub, take those beliefs that you're questioning, that no longer meet with the narrative of today, and breathe them out into the bath water, release them into the bath water. And when you are releasing the water down the drain as well, watch it go down the drain. Actually consciously be releasing down the drain. Let it go. Okay, that's just another method that I've found really, really useful in my life. You know, there's a lot of people that have poo-pooed the idea of energy work. You know, they can't see it, so they don't believe it. And yet, once you have experienced a physical release as a result of an energetic work, as a result of setting an intention, all of a sudden it's going to make you really, really shift your beliefs as to what you are capable of by the power of releasing things metaphysically. Okay, so that's part of your work this week. Those of you that selected the Smokey Quartz, let go of that which no longer serves your highest good. And like I said, the timelines right now are conspiring to really, really assist you in this work this week. So let's have a look at what your shadow is, which is the card on the bottom. Trust in the unknown. Okay, so I went really deep into talking about releasing things energetically, releasing things metaphysically. And I hinted that some of you don't believe that that's what's actually happening. But once you actually experience it, all of a sudden you're going to believe it, which means that that old belief that energy work doesn't actually work needs to be released. And you need to trust in that. That's what's being hidden from you. You have to trust in the unknown, trust in that which you can't see. That which you can't see, hear, taste, feel. Hello? It doesn't mean that it's not there. You can't see oxygen. And yet every time you inhale, you know there is oxygen in the air that goes in through your nose, down through and into your lungs. And you know that every time you exhale, there's carbon dioxide that goes out. But you can't see that. But you know it's there. So then why not trust and believe in the unknown? Another example of that would be, you know, our ancestors couldn't see bacteria, and yet they knew there was something that was making them not feel good. Okay, so release that which no longer serves you, and that means release those beliefs that no longer serve you. And in so doing, you are being called upon to trust in the unknown. And this is what's being hidden from you. This is your shadow this week. You're not trusting in that which you can't see, hear, feel physically, but it exists. And when you put your trust in the unknown, all of a sudden, you don't have a choice but to let go of past belief systems. Okay? So, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate everybody coming out each week. Please like and share this video if you have enjoyed it. I will be back next Monday. And just a reminder, please join me at Intuitive Butterfly page on Facebook. I have an event coming up on October the 30th, really, really special, fun event. This is a continuation of my Intuition for Newbies class. It is 100% free. And when I say 100% free, it means it's 100% free. It means that I am not trying to sell you some kind of course at the end or anything like that. This is my way of sharing and giving back to the community that helps to support me. October 30th, we're going to be looking at mediumship. How do you talk to the spirits? And the reason that we're doing that this month is because we are going towards Samhain, which is also the Witch's New Year, which is also Day of the Dead, which is also Halloween. It goes by so many different names. So I'm really super excited about October 30th. So please join me October 30th for this amazing event. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.